Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It is Spiritual Healthcare, day 67. Good morning. How is everyone? I hope you guys are having a great day. It is lovely outside. It is actually sunny here for the first time in a number of days. So good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is, as I say, day 67, and we have been going through the universal laws over the last short little while. So we are going to delve further into that today. I also got a really great question that was posted in the Haunted Magazine forum, and we're going to grab that as well, about paranormal research and ethics and things like that. So we're going to be talking about a lot today, both of course the ethics of paranormal research, but also we're going to be talking about the law of increase. The law of increase is a really interesting one, and it's definitely something that we've got to really grasp and understand with all of the things that we've been doing moving forward, especially with all of the things that have been going on recently. In the news, going on with the pandemic, going on in our daily lives. We've got to get to the law of increase. That's today. So good morning, Will and Jay and Patricia and Jason. Nice to see everybody. It is day 67. We've been doing this for 67 days. That's amazing. That's amazing. So yeah, we've got lots and lots to talk about this morning, and there's been so much, I think, that's been put on our plates, and understanding this law of increase and how things are building and moving along, and where we're putting our attention and all of those things. So we're going to chat about that today. Good morning to everybody that's coming in. It's nice to see all of you. It's always good to see, well, everybody in the morning, and then, see all your names pop up. And good morning, Brandy and Shadow. Nice to see you guys as always. This has been such an interesting last number of days because, I think all of our work that we've done here on spiritual healthcare is being examined and put to the test in a lot of ways. We've been watching, for those of you guys who've been keeping on tabs with the news, of course, there's, was that horrible incident with the police officer who ended up, murdering such an innocent human being. So there has been a lot of upset and uprising, and all of these, all of these emotions. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to be seeing what some of the things that have been going on lately. So it's been testing. It's been testing our ability to not only stand in our truth, but to understand, I think, the center of where we're going wrong with. With just society's rules and moving forward, and our idea about things like color and race and all of those things. All of this is being tested and examined, and we have to decide and to do things different and move forward in a new way. This is a big deal. So good morning, Will and Wes and Becky. Nice to see you from Seattle, South Carolina, and oh my god, all these different places coming in. I love it. I just love it. Yeah, a whole year of spiritual healthcare. Yeah, I know. It's coming to that. It's coming to that. And I'm hoping, as I say, as we move forward, we're going to get into more of the masterclass, which will be out soon, as well as doing some live stream events from some really cool places like the Craft and Cork in Edmonton, who has graciously agreed to host some live events for us and do that. And so we're going to be doing a lot of different things. I'm looking forward to meeting their resident spirit, Lawrence. I'm greatly looking forward to that. It's going to be really fun. So good morning, Sally. Nice to see you. It's so good to see everybody coming in the morning. It's awesome. It's awesome. There has been some really great, I think, discussion that's been going on over the last little while. As I say, as events test our resilience and our understanding of our own states of being, what it is to be a person, how we want to be as individuals moving forward, and what we want society to look like as we move forward. As I say, there's been some pretty crazy stuff going on in the news, and I think Will Smith said it best when he said, racism isn't getting worse; it's just filmed. So I think we've got these great opportunities right now to really begin to see some of these things as a catalyst, because there's just stuff that has to change. There's stuff that has to change. So we got to be able to use what we know, and move forward and act from that place of alignment, body, soul, spirit, and source, and act from that place of alignment, and make the changes that we need to see, because that's what's going to make or break all of this, right? So. So I want to delve into the one question that I got, or that I noticed on the Haunted Magazine forum, which I thought was really great, and I think it's worth discussing in context of all of this, which is, what are some of the most unethical things you have come across during an investigation? And I thought this was a really, really great question that I really wanted to grab onto this morning, because it's a big subject. It's a big subject, and it's stuff that happens all the time. I don't think it's necessarily one thing in terms of, the one most unethical thing. But my biggest pet peeve in this field is when you've got people who are grieving, who are needing help, who are putting themselves in a vulnerable position with investigators, or people that are claiming they're investigators, whatever, or claiming that they're psychic and this kind of thing, and they take their damn money. That I have an issue with. I have a big issue with that. I've had numerous families come to me over the years saying that they need help. They're completely broke because they've given all their money to some sort of researcher or investigator who's, come into their house, done some, weird, dance or something like that to saying that they're going to get rid of entities and things like that. And then they turn around and take their money and leave. So that is probably, I think, one of the most unethical things that I've watched over the years has been things like that. And then coming back to prey on them again, knowing that the family is broke, and then not empowering the family to go forward and do something new and different, and to teach them how to maintain their balance and retain the peace of mind, and things like that. I think, to me, that's crazy. That's crazy. I think one of the most unethical things that I've heard of over the years, and this is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about making sure that people know that this stuff doesn't have to be this horrible, scary, negative thing. We ran into a situation a while back where there was a paramedic who did not want to treat somebody in their home because they said that the home was haunted. And because they said the home was haunted, they turned around and the EMT or whichever waited outside for the patient to come outside the house, because they refused to go into the house and deal with the haunted house. So to me, that's probably one of the worst things that I've heard. And thankfully, it doesn't happen very often. So I've only ever heard of it once, but it was that out of control. And we have to do it different. We have to start educating people differently, because when we've got a situation like that, now we're sacrificing people's health care, we're sacrificing people's state of mind and well-being, and now we've got individuals that are supposed to be of service, and they're acting from this state of fear. We can't be doing that. That's not good. So we have to be conscious of the message that we're delivering to people, even though the scary shows, it's funny, and they can be entertaining, and they're exciting and thrilling and all of these things. We have to be careful and to give that other side of the story, because if we don't, we get situations where people are acting from fear, and then it's a snowball, it's a domino effect. So we have to understand where we're coming from with this. So those are, I think, the two biggies for me. And it's just something we have to be conscious and present of the effect that we're having with our words, with our speech, with what we're promoting, all of that, whether we're talking about the paranormal, whether we're talking about, things like racism, whether we're talking about whatever it is, we have to be conscious of our language. It's a big deal. And I'm not talking even just about slurs or things like that. I'm talking about the intent behind what we're speaking. We have to be conscious of the intent behind what we're speaking and what message we're delivering, which brings me to today's law, universal law, because I think this is so important. And it is the law of increase. Okay, so the law of increase is very, I think it's very important and crucial for today. And basically what it is that it states about that the law of increase is about being happy and being grateful for what we have, having faith that we can grow more of it, and understanding that we talked a little while ago about the idea of the law of supply, which is there's an infinite supply of energy and what we're doing and how we're moving through the world from this infinite source of intelligence. And to understand that where our attention goes, where our energy flows and our attention goes, we increase. We get more of it every single time. It's so interesting because when we begin to understand this the best, and I think one of the best examples of this is when we look at how we talk to and encourage other people. So for example, let's use the example of a child that's going through school, and we start to praise them. Right? We start to praise them. We start to praise what they're doing well. We find out what they're doing right. Or even something, if you've got employees, right? If you start to, praise or increase your appreciation of that employee, all of a sudden you've got an employee that starts to they're going to bend over backwards for you to get to that next stage, to get to that next thing. You increase their productivity. You're increasing, that maybe that child's self-esteem. You're increasing, their want to do more. And we've all been on the receiving end of that because, we know that if we face criticism or we've got somebody who's putting us down, our desire to do whatever that is just tanks. It just tanks. It just disappears because nobody wants to put any energy into that. And the law of increase kind of works the same way, and on just this universal level. They've done these different experiments, even with things like plants. They've done them with, of course, with humans and individuals and whatnot, but they've even done it with things like plants and water molecules, all sorts of things like that. And they've noticed every single time that there is an increase in the plant's growth. They've noticed that there's an increase in how it responds, how and this is something that doesn't have any ears. Like, it's not processing us on an intellectual level. But once we understand that we've got this universal consciousness, and that this universal consciousness is encompassing, it's in everything, it's in all things, then we begin to realize that we can influence what that looks like and what that is with how we are thinking about it. What is our perspective on what is going on what this issue is, or what's going on, or what that, are we appreciating that plant? Are we appreciating the people in our experience? Are we appreciating the peace in our house? When we get into hauntings and stuff like this, we see this so often where, the more that we turn and are able to pull our energy to the state of appreciation, we see negative hauntings start to improve almost immediately. And it's really hard to do that when we've got a situation where, there's stuff that's going on that we don't like. But the more we can start to turn our attention to that appreciation, that's an increase. That will increase. So, one of the areas I think that, we see this so often, and this was a very interesting study, and I was actually having a conversation about this study this morning. It was really cool, is when we start to look at the health community, the medical community, and things like that, they are slowly beginning to understand the law of increase. Slowly. They're getting there. They're starting to understand it. But the problem with a lot of doctors and nurses and things like that is that they are trained to look for things that are wrong with you. They're trained to look for things that are wrong. And that's, I think, probably one of the reasons why, doctors and nurses tend to be some of the worst patients. And they don't recover. They tend to not recover as quickly or as well, because they're so used to being able to gravitate to focus on what it is that's wrong. So we have to be mindful of that, because we have to know where we are in order to get to where we need to be. However, how we view what that is so important. There was a study done where patients that had tumors were told to draw their tumor. And they were told to draw whether it was something that was really small or whether it was something that was filling the whole paper, right? They had the freedom to do whatever they wanted, draw it however they wanted. And what was funny about this was that a lot of them would draw the entire page worth of, and that was how they saw it. And it was something that, of course, was frightening to them. It was all of these things, but they drew it the size of the page. And then you had the other people, and the other people drew it tiny. It was tiny. It was like this tiny little spot on the page. And interestingly enough, as they followed these people along in their recovery, they noticed that the people who drew it quite large had a very hard time recovering. They just did. They had a really hard time, if at all. Some of them never went into remission at all. But this was a problem. So when we start to look and we start to move this through our experience, and we begin to realize that the way we are viewing this stuff is really going to determine, for the most part, how whatever it is ends, we have to start to realize that reshaping our thinking around this stuff is one of the keys to moving through these experiences. I think this is something, that we can apply to the current pandemic that's going on. How are we viewing it? It doesn't mean we have to not take it seriously. It doesn't mean we have to not do what the health providers and the healthcare workers and things like that are telling us. But I think how we are viewing it and framing it, and the size in which we are framing it, is really, really important, so that we can start to get a handle on it and it doesn't feel so uncontrollable. So many illnesses, and this is something that's very interesting, so many illnesses are such manifestational indicators, just like negative entities. And we've talked about this before with hauntings, where you get a negative entity, and oftentimes it will mirror back to you that negative energy or whatever's going on in your experience. It indicates your healing by reflecting back to you the stuff that really needs to be healed. So many people that have, for example, been through an abusive relationship, for instance, will, experience a negative haunting that mirrors some of that abuse, maybe physical violence or things like that. And it happens repeatedly. It's very interesting. But when we start to look at things like health and illness, we see the same thing. And how we are framing it, we have to understand that if we are looking at it from a framework of increase, and understanding that what we put our attention into and what we put that momentum into will get bigger, then it changes how we're going to phrase what we're saying, what we're speaking, how we're experiencing this. Knowing that whatever it is, it will get larger, then we have a fork in the road, don't we? We have a fork in the road. What are you going to increase? Are you going to increase the unhealth? Are we going to increase the illness? Are we going to increase the upset or the haunting that's maybe not so good? Or are we going to put our attention on something that's going to give momentum to the healing, the health, the wellness, the experiences with spirit that we want, the fun interactions with non-physical that we want, all of those connections? Where do we put our attention? If we know that there's a law of increase, what we put our attention on will grow, and there is an infinite supply. There's an infinite supply of well-being. So are we going to cut the well-being off, or are we going to tune into that and watch it expand? And I think it's another point to make as well. Every subject is one subject. We think it's two subjects. We think it's two things. We think there's the good and there's the bad, and they're two different things. And there really isn't two things. All it is it's an indicator of something that we have to start to clean up. That's what it is. Just like negative entities, just like sicknesses, just like COVID for that instance. It's an indicator of something going on. We're cutting ourselves off from well-being somewhere, and we got to clean it up. We got to understand it and clean it up. And when we clean it up, that starts to dissipate. I think so many times when I see people moving all over the place when it comes to a haunting, for instance. Just they're moving from house to house to house to house to house, and they're trying to figure out what it is that, they can't figure out why they're being followed by this entity, and they are house poor, and all these things are going on with them. And the funny thing about this is the fact that the one thing that they haven't taken into consideration is that, number one, the common denominator is them. So we got to start there. It's something to do with their attraction point. And number two, the level of focus that they now have on the problem has expanded to the point where oftentimes it's consumed their experience. It's just consumed it. So we really do have to take a hard look at what it is that's going on and begin to understand what, how to move forward with our focus and attention. And it doesn't mean ignore the problem. It doesn't mean to ignore it, but it means reshaping, reframing how we're seeing it to make sure that we're not deluding ourselves into a extremely negative state of being where we're just cutting ourselves off from that healing and that supply. I think it's crucial. I think it's crucial in moving forward. It's so important. So I wanted to bring a bit of Abraham Hicks into today's reading because they have a great perspective on this, and I loved it. And Darren saying, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. Yeah, absolutely. Are you on the road less traveled? Because sometimes the road less traveled, even though it's more uncomfortable, it's where the healing is. It's always where the healing is. It's interesting. People want to stay comfortable. They want to stay comfortable. They don't want to be stressed out. It's funny. They don't want to be stressed out because they think that if they're not stressed out, then everything is okay. But they have to realize that there's chaos in healing, even though we don't like it. But it is. Staying comfortable is never where everything that you want is not where you're comfortable. There's that. Everything. It's all outside the comfort zone. So, you have to stretch. If you're not stretching into that, then you're not going to see the change. People get so addicted to sitting and vegetating and having the same routine over and over and over and over again. But the healing and the all of the big things in your life that you're experiencing that you want to experience, I'm telling you, none of it is within your comfort zone. It's funny because people automatically assume that, before I get up on stage, or something like that, it's like, oh, it's easy for you, or, this or that. There's always that, like, that feeling of, oh my God, we're doing this, that's never going to change. There's always that feeling of, what if the tech goes wrong? What if something happens? That's always running through your head, especially with my background, because I have a stage manager's background. So I've always got that in my brain, in the back of my brain. I'm running through a million processes at once. But here's the thing: is it's like the comfortable thing for me to do would be to not do the show. Right? It would be to not do the thing. It just would. But that's not where I'm going to find the joy and the happiness. It's not in the space that you're relegating yourself to. It's in that next push. So check this out. It's from Abraham. If your decision is to follow your bliss, and you have been focusing on a life situation that is nowhere near bliss, your decision to follow your bliss would be unsuccessful because the law of attraction cannot deliver a thought that holds such a dramatic vibrational difference. But if your decision is to reach for the best feeling thought that you have access to, that decision can be easily achieved. If you take the time to consciously determine the emotion that you are currently experiencing, then any improvement in your feeling means that you are making progress towards your goal, while any intensifying of the negative emotion means that you are going in the wrong direction. So a good way to feel your way up this vibrational emotional scale is to always be reaching for the feeling of relief that comes when you release a more resistant thought and replace it with a more allowing thought. The stream of well-being is always flowing through you. And the more you allow it, the better you feel. The more you resist it, the worse you feel. Law of increase. That's what that is right there. Law of increase. How are we allowing? How are we doing that? How are we moving through these different experiences? And Brandy and Shadow are saying adversity causes opportunity. Absolutely. Insufficiency creates the catalyst for joy. Every time. But here's the catch. We get to choose. What is it that we want? We're looking at that fork in the road. Which way do we want to go? Do we want to increase that state of disallowing by continuing in that momentum and that vibration? Or do we continue in a brand new way? We're going to do it different. And we move towards the cause of opportunity through how we're thinking, how we're framing these things. We don't know joy and bliss without the contrast. If we did not have the contrast, if we did not have the unhealth, we would not know what health was. We would not know what to reach for. If we do not have an incident of like what's been going on lately in the U.S. of things like racism and things and stuff like that, we would not know to reach for the well-being and equality of people. There has to be a contrast, but then we have to make a decision. We have to make the decision to move forward in a new way, or else we're going to get stuck doing that old thing and increase the thing that we don't want. So when we begin to get that there's this law and deep law of increase and how we can step into this new way of being, we get to choose what more we bring into our experience. We talked recently about the law of attraction. We talked about the law of supply and the law of thinking, all of these different things. And each one of these is so key. And the law of receiving, for that matter. But the law of increase, when we begin to realize that our state of being will add momentum to the things that we are wanting and looking for, but that it also has the ability to cut us off from those experiences, then we realize just how much control we have over a lot of this stuff. And when it's funny, because when I'm dealing with clients, often what I will get is, the client will say, I don't understand why the haunting is getting worse. I've been doing everything I can. I've blessed the house. I've done all of these things. And, I've tried EVP and I've tried this and I've tried that. Where's your attention? Where's your attention going? It's going to the issue, isn't it? It's going to the problem. It's going to the haunting. It's going to take a breath, take a step back. Are you doing it because you want to experience more well-being, that you are wanting to put energy into the healing because you see the house as well? Or are you doing it because you're trying to get rid of whatever is there? Get rid of whatever is there. It's a big difference. Big vibrational difference. Big difference. So, doing something to get rid of something, wrong way. Doing something because you feel and know and understand the healing, do that. Do that. Do it from a different place. Again, intention. How are we setting into motion? What are we doing? It's a really, really big deal. So, that being said, so that's your process today, really. That's what the process is to figure out, what side of that momentum are you on? Law of increase, big deal. Matt's asking, that he says he really appreciates spiritual healthcare. Thank you, Matt. And when will Galen make his on-camera debut? When Gailey is awake. Galen is awake. He sleeps like all morning, so it's like I have to wait until the morning where he's up, or else he's gonna be literally falling asleep on camera. So I intend to bring him because I think he's a great host. He's a great co-host. He has a very short attention span, though, I have to say. But for those of you guys who don't know who Galen is, that's my python, and he's the sweetest little man on the planet. But he has a short attention span. He loves the camera and he loves to do videos and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll see. As if he's up one morning, he will be co-host. Yeah, so it is. And Darcy's saying this is the same for healing the body. Absolutely, it's the same for healing the body. You're spot on. It is crucial and key to really understand how we are giving our attention to what it is we're doing. And are we seeing these things as, if we start out seeing an illness like COVID or anything like that as a death sentence, if we have that in our heads before, as we're, feeling the symptoms and things like that, that's not going to end well. That's just not going to end well, And Shadow's saying maybe we could do an evening class one night. That's a great idea. We should do an evening. Let's plan for that. And then Galen can attend and he will be more awake than he will be more awake. He just ate yesterday, so it's going to be a day or so before he's ready to do that. But we will plan for that. We will plan for an evening spiritual healthcare, and Gailey will co-host. That could be very interesting. It could be very interesting. So that being said, I wanted to offer you guys a to-do today that I thought was just the coolest thing. So there is a mansion here in Edmonton. It's called the McGrath Mansion, and it was built in the pre-World War I building boom at the time, and it was owned by a fellow by the name of William McGrath. And it's a really incredible home. This place is huge. It's huge. And it's said that William is still around. He still, visits his old home, that he, still really loves it. It's kind of got this Georgian revival, like neoclassical architect style. It's got these like gable dormers and this like porch and side lights, and it's like huge windows. This thing looks like the classic haunted house. It's so neat. It's got this huge like French chandelier in it. Like it is the quintessential haunted house, and it is said to be quite haunted. But they have a tour of the McGrath Mansion that's now online that you can literally like click. It's like 3D, and you can like click and navigate your way through this house. It is the neatest thing. They have not had the McGrath Mansion open to many people here in the city for I don't know if they've ever done it. But it's open now, and this 3D tour is now available that you can go through. So I'm going to post that for you guys so you can check it out, because it's just the quintessential haunted house, and it's just neat. So I'm going to post that for you guys, and you guys can play around with it and whatever. It's the coolest tour. The 3D model, like going through it and whatever, and the way they've designed it is phenomenal. And as I say, it's haunted, which is great. So, yeah, so it's really, really good. So that being said, we have our health affirmations to do, because law of increase, we know what we're increasing. We know where we're putting our attention. We are clear about that, because we want people to heal, and we want ourselves to be healed and healthy, and to be able to move through this whole process of quarantine and have it end peacefully. So everybody take a breath. It is natural for my body to be well. Even if I don't know what to do in order to get better, my body does. I have trillions of cells with individual consciousness, and they are learning how to achieve their individual balance. When this condition began, I didn't know what I know now. I don't need to understand the cause of this illness. I only have to gently, eventually release this illness. It doesn't matter how it got started, because it's reversing its course right now. There's no hurry about any of this. My body knows what to do. Well-being is natural to me. My inner being is intricately aware of my physical body. My cells are asking for what they need in order to thrive, and Source is answering those requests. I'm in very good hands. My only work is to relax and breathe, and I can do that easily. Everybody take a breath. Thank you guys this morning for an amazing day 67 of spiritual healthcare, and we will do this again tomorrow with a new universal law. It's actually really going to be a good one. We're going to talk about the law of compensation tomorrow, and that one, man, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. So thank you, Laura. All the Lauras that just logged in, actually. A few Lauras that have just logged in. And Sally and Brandy and Shadow and everybody, and Darcy, thank you. All of you guys that come every day. It's such a gift and a blessing to be doing this. So thank you, all of you. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Spiritual Healthcare. Also on YouTube right now, there is my playlist I organized the whole playlist of all the spiritual healthcare classes. And the more that we can recommend and share the playlist, the more that it's gonna get pushed out there and spread around and stuff like that. So if you are able to share the classes, share the playlist off of YouTube. It's youtube.com/EntitySeeker. So if you guys can share that playlist, that would like mean a whole ton to me. I so appreciate you guys and everything you guys do and bring every day. So I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Bye, guys.